Welcome to Thank You for Your Reply, where we dive deep into the strategies and insights of real estate's most innovative professionals. I'm your host, Rich Peterson from The Reply AI. Each episode, we explore real practices driving success in today's market. No fluff, no pitches, just real conversations with real experts sharing real results. In this episode, we are joined by Bill Himmelstein, CEO and founder of Tenant Advisory Group, which is Chicago-based commercial real estate brokerage. We had a great conversation about the real estate industry, and Bill had a lot of unique insights to share about the relationship building and running a successful brokerage. Before we dive in, please make sure you like and subscribe. Your engagement helps keep the show running. Without further ado, here we go. Hello, everybody. We're here with another episode of Thank You for Your Reply. Today, we're joined by Bill Himmelstein, now I said your name the other way around, Himmelstein. We had just talked about the pronunciation. And with the Tenant Advisory Group, first off, welcome and tell us a little bit about Tenant Advisory Group.
Absolutely, Rich. And thank you so much for having me. I love the title of your podcast. Thank you for the reply, because, as salespeople, that's what we're looking for. It's just a response. Even if the response is no, thank you for the reply, So I love the title of your podcast. Tenant Advisory Group, we're a commercial real estate consulting firm, brokerage firm that really focuses on representing what I like to call the end user of real estate. So the tenant, the buyer, and the seller. We work across a couple different verticals: office space, industrial and warehouse space, as well as medical space. And we do this for businesses all across the country, but we're based here in Chicago. I'd say about 50% of our revenue comes from representing tenants, buyers, and sellers here in the Chicagoland area. And then the other 50% of our revenue comes from representing tenants, buyers, and sellers across the country.
All right. Well, let's jump into our questions here. So first question, what's your number one source for high quality leads right now, and how has that changed over the past few years?
That is a terrific place to start. And my answer to you, Rich, is you're looking at it. I am the number one source of leads, but the way I go about getting those leads, Rich, it's really what our process is all about. And in short, if you want to get into it in more details, happy to do it. But in short, I'm trying to connect with potential clients, right? Business owners who occupy commercial space, whether it's office, industrial, warehouse, medical. I don't care whether they lease or they own. I don't care if they have the lease coming due or they want to sell. I just want to meet them and build a relationship. Part of that building a relationship with those business owners is asking them for introductions to other business owners that occupy space. Boom, there it is. That's my golden ticket. That's the secret right now to everything that I do. And frankly, I'm extremely good at it, getting in front of these business owners, because I try to bring value to them, whether it's introducing them to potential clients, bringing them to events that I host where they can meet other contemporaries and other potential clients or service providers. But I always come back with the ask. I ask them, we'll look through their LinkedIn connections and we'll find the people they know that are owners, CEOs, CFOs, COOs that occupy commercial space. And we'll say, how well do you know these 3, 4, 5 people? And can you make an introduction? So that is how I get in front of my, hot leads. Now, I don't know whether they have a need coming up or not. I know that one day they'll have a need. And so I play the long game, Rich. Yeah. If I get in front of someone that has commercial space, whether they own or lease it, I know there'll be a transaction at some point. But honestly, that's the number one way I get in front of new opportunities, is asking people for introductions to those people.
And then you're kind of already qualifying in that way, qualifying your leads.
Spot on. Absolutely. And I've already, I've spent some effort in building that relationship, building trust, bringing them value, so they feel confident putting me in front of their contemporaries and the people that they know, their clients, their customers, and that's really my whole process, is about building relationships with the right people. And then I don't have a problem asking after I've led with the give, after I've provided value. I have no problems asking for something in return. And that something is either, I'd like you to hire me as your commercial broker for your transactional need, or I'd like you to introduce me to other people like yourself that could be good clients for me.
Okay. That's going to builds it into that process. You don't have to do it later. It's Good. That's efficient. I like that. So, and can you walk us through your most successful marketing strategy that doesn't involve paid advertising? I feel like you just did, but do you do any paid advertising as well?
So that's a really good question, Rich. And I'll tell you that, right, that's not the only method that I use. We have a lot of different methods. One, I'm thrilled to have the best marketing professional I've ever had, Samantha. She does great with social media, right? These events that I'm hosting where I'm bringing anywhere from 10, usually it's around 10 to 12, sometimes 20, sometimes 50 business owners and C-level executives together. I'll take some photos. She'll then make some posts about it, and they'll generate a lot of buzz. Because of our content generation, which another one is, by the way, our monthly newsletter. We have a great newsletter that goes out to about 7,500 business owners and professional service providers, and it garners, get this, 30% open rate. And that's insane, right? That's such a huge, and the reason I'm not talking about here's what Tenant Advisory Group is doing and here's the deals we're closing and the things we're working on. I talk about here's a not-for-profit I want to spotlight. Here's an entrepreneur I want to spotlight and their business. Here's an executive in transition I want to spotlight. So in other words, it's about the community. It's not about me and Tenant Advisory Group. It's about here's what's going on around us and in our community. How can I support others around me? But because of kind of that content generation and I guess the buzz and the reputation that we're garnering online, the second best source of hot leads has been my website, which if you asked me this before I hired Samantha, I would tell you I would get approximately, one lead a month. And half the time that lead was a residential person saying, hey, I'm not paying my landlord rent and he wants to evict me. What do I do? So not a good lead for me, needless to say.
Yeah.
Now, holy cow, Rich, I bet you I get at least one inquiry a week. And again, some of those are not great, but I would tell you that once a month, I get a good opportunity coming in off of my website, which is, in my mind, spectacular. I mean, one of those leads, maybe two, if we close them, we'll pay for Samantha for the year. So, it's really kind of the whole marketing strategy wrapped up together, in my mind, is what's generating these leads. It's also a lot of it with the monthly newsletter, the posting on LinkedIn and social media. It's about staying top of mind. It's about keeping awareness in front of people. And that's something that was lacking before my current marketing professional, because we'll get people now that think of me on a much more regular basis because we're in front of them on a much more regular basis. And it's not intrusive. It's not salesy. We're not saying, hey, who needs to lease some office space or warehouse space, or who needs to buy or sell a building? We're just saying, hey, here's what we've learned. Exactly. So that was kind of a long-winded answer. I apologize for that, but that's what we're doing, Rich, and it's been working out very well.
Yeah, it was a good answer. So paints a picture, and I like that too. It's kind of one of the reasons why I do the podcast too. To be visible and not holding like buy now sign or whatever.
100%. And by the way, you're offering value to every one of your guests, because now that's an opportunity for us to get exposure and us to share. Hey, look, Rich thought highly enough of me to have me on his podcast, and here's that episode. So you're not just bringing yourself visibility, you're also doing a huge favor to your guests. So once again, thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for being on the show. So what is one common belief about real estate success that you found to be completely wrong?
Wow, that's a great one. That it happens, that it happens quickly. Everybody I've talked to, all the firms that I interviewed at, they all said, your first year, you're going to make 30 to 50,000. Your second year, you're going to crack six figures. And your third year, you're off and running. You're off to the races, many hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. Guess what? That's not the case. My dad likes to joke with me that I was a 10-year overnight success. And to me, that is a much more common. You got to just stick it out. You got to have a strong support system that's going to help you stick it out. But it's a grind. It takes a while before you really hit your stride and things get a lot easier and you start making good money consistently. That to me is sort of one of the biggest misconceptions. The second one, Rich, I was taught early on from my mentors, and I use that term very lightly, but when I worked at these bigger firms earlier in my career, they all push the phone, cold calling, dialing for dollars. And I think it's the exact opposite. I am much more of a relationship builder. And of course, relationships take time. So it's got to be about the long game. And I think if you take the time to build relationships, every relationship builds upon the previous one. So you're like a snowball rolling downhill. Whereas cold calling, in my mind, every day you start over at zero. You have nothing when you're cold calling. You're just hoping to catch the right person on the right day at the right time for their real estate needs. Otherwise, you're not building any rapport with these people. You're not creating anything of value. But when you have relationships in your back pocket, now you've built something of value, something that's transferable to any firm you want to go to, including working on your own. So to me, it's about the timing of how long it takes to get your feet on firm setting and build a nice book of business and build something that's sustainable, as well as not doing that through cold calling, which is what all the big firms want you to do.
Yeah, I mean, cold calling, they don't call it cold for nothing, and it brings results, but yeah, they don't feel
Well, you remember,
feel good.
You asked me my number one way of getting good leads, and it's introductions from people that are trusted partners and friends. So I can leverage someone else's trust in them to get that meeting. And now when I go in and have that first meeting, it's, oh yeah, you were introduced by my good friend or my client or my partner, whatever it is. You've already elevated yourself because you're coming in from a position of trust versus that cold call where it's like, okay, what do you want? What are you trying to sell me?
Yeah, I had someone from my emails were trying to get guests on the podcast and had someone respond very strongly to me for just must have been having a bad day or something, but like a lot of F-bombs. And I was like,
which is shocking to me because you're offering them an opportunity. You're offering them something of value. And for someone to get upset with you for that, you're absolutely right. There was something going on in their life that made them very upset. And I bet if you circle back with them in a year and say, hey, we've released this many podcasts, we've had this many viewers, would you like an opportunity to tell your story on my podcast? I bet you get a different response.
Yeah, I didn't take it personally. It was just, it was kind of comical actually, but yeah.
I hear ya.
So how do you structure your typical workday to maximize your productivity while you're also maintaining a work-life balance? Because this is describing as a lot of work, being out there and getting in front of people.
You're spot on. You're hitting with really pointed questions. I love it. I remember when I first had children, right? Before then, you have all the time in the world. And, I was going to 3 to 4 breakfast meetings a week, 3 to 4 evening events a week. Then all of a sudden you have children and your priorities change. And a question I get is, what's the advice you would give your younger self? And it relates to this question that you just asked. And that is, treat your time as if it's incredibly valuable. Now, when I was younger, my time was not as valuable as it is because, to your point, I strive greatly for that work-life balance. I take my kids to school every morning. Well, that means I don't do any breakfast appointments. I want to be available for my children when they get home at school by 4 o'clock. So that greatly limits my evening activities. Maybe I average maybe one a week, but it's all about working smarter, not harder. And some of those keys I've learned over the years have been, I used to meet with anybody and everybody, vendors, salespeople, business development people, vice presidents, everybody's a vice president, right? And so now I really only meet with people that could be potential clients or people that can introduce me to potential clients with a huge focus on the former, the actual potential clients. And in terms of how I structure my day, that was your original question, is how I structure my day. I will admit that as an ADHD person, sometimes it can be hard for me to focus. It can be hard for me to kind of zero in on the task at hand. So, meetings, podcast interviews, events, that's easy. right? I'm in my element. I love the one-on-one, the talking back and forth, the engaging with people. I love it. That's what I love doing. The sitting at the computer, typing away, holy moly, Rich, stab me. Like that is not what I want to be doing. However, I realize that follow-up is a huge part of what we do. So for me, structuring the day is about scheduling time. When I see it on the calendar that I'm going to take an hour of follow-ups, okay, I'm going to be locked in. I'm not going to let this distract me. If somebody texts me, now if a client calls or texts, okay, that can distract me and I'll take that call. Mm-hmm. But if a friend is texting, I'm not going to be responding during that time. I'm going to be lasered in on doing what I'm supposed to be doing in that scheduled time. And so the long answer made short is to schedule blocks of time to do the things that you need to do. That's how I make my day extremely productive. And I'm still able to make that time for my family. And when I'm with my children, again, if this comes out when I'm with my children, it sends a very clear message to them that this is more important than them. And that is not the message I want to send. I want to send the message that you're the most important thing to me in my life. And I don't care what's going on in business. Sometimes that's bit me a little bit, or I can say to my children, this is a really important client calling me right now. Do you mind if I take this? Asking them for the permission. They've never said, no, I don't want you to take it. If they did say no, I would respect that. And I'd text the client, I'm sorry, I'm with my children right now. I'll call you back as soon as I have a moment. Really hard to argue with someone who's trying to be a good parent and spend time with their children. Another quick tip, which reminds me, when I travel and I leave an out of office, my title is out of office spending time with my family. Because that's the only travel I do is with my family. And so again, hard to get mad at the person who's trying to be a good dad and a good husband and spending time with their family. So those are two little tricks of the trade where it's kind of helped me buy a little bit of time to get back to these people that are very important to me, because I'm spending time with people that are even more important to me.
That's great advice. That's a good piece of advice that non-traditional from some of the ones that I've been hearing so far, but to like get into the real personal side of it. Yeah. Everybody listen out there. Put your phone away when you're home.
Yeah, it's true. Look, think about it, Rich. I mean, if you're a business owner or not, and you're just trying to reach out to a service provider, you don't care what they're doing, what they're up to. Generally speaking, you want a solution to your problem. You want an answer to your question, and when you do bring in that touch of personal into it, especially when it's related to your children, like I wouldn't say I'm busy drinking beers with my buddies at watching the game.
Yeah.
People definitely don't care about that. Their business is more important than your drinking buddies. But when you relate it to I'm spending time with family, they also can appreciate that. They also say, you know what? Spending time with your family is very important. And kudos to you for making time. That's the response I get most frequently is congrats. Like, good for you. Good to spend time with your family. Like, I love that. Otherwise they're going to say, well, this is my business. I've got an issue. I need help right now. I need you to call me back right now. Like, take a minute away from your fun time to call me. But when it's related to family, people generally respect that.
So my agency specializes in systems for just that, like helping put in systems in place so that you're less hands-on and you have more time for whatever you want to spend it on. Do you use any systems like that to schedule your day, to put in those blocks? Or
That's a really good question. I mean, number one, I think something that saved me a good amount of time has been the app Calendly. It's basically an online calendar where you put in the dates and times you're available. You can send people a link, that you want to meet with and say, here, find a time. Because I was finding we were going back and forth and here's the dates. And I kept constantly having to update my dates that I was available and remove the ones that have been scheduled and add new ones. And it was just taking up an inordinate amount of time. And I thought it was silly. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And then I saw Calendly, and that saves a huge amount of time. The other thing I do, Rich, is it's not necessarily very tech savvy, but I'm very heavily administrative assistant support staff. There's a lot of things, not only that I don't want to do, but that I'm not good at. All right. There's a lot of things I'm not good at. I know my business is going to be better if we have stronger talent in those seats doing those tasks. And so if you look at the typical brokerage model, the broker, him or herself, wears several different hats. It's the hunter, they work to bring in opportunities, then they work on those opportunities, they close those opportunities, they're scheduling, they're doing everything. And frankly, it impedes their productivity. It reduces their productivity. And my overhead is going to be a lot higher, but I also believe my revenue and revenue potential is far greater. So while my margins may not be as good, margins on smaller margins on much greater revenues can still be a good thing. And so I've got team members in place to execute the vast majority of the transactions. I'll still be there to consult and add value, but I'm not drafting proposals. I'm not putting together surveys. I'm not going on tours until my client has selected 2 to 3 properties that they want to focus on. Then I will schedule time when it works for me to go see them. So I know what we're talking about. I've got my marketing people. So everyone says, Bill, I love your posts. I'm not making the posts. I'm not making comments. I'm not liking. I'm not really on social media that much. I've got a marketing person that's doing it on my behalf. When I'm inviting people to events, I'm not sending out the emails. Someone else is doing it from my account. Just as many things like that as I can outsource, offload to other team members, whomever it might be. That's what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, as I mentioned, I'm not good at very many things. So the most value to the company is when I focus on things I'm good at. It also so happens that some of the things I'm good at, I really enjoy. So I want to do the things that I enjoy. I was talking with another salesperson the other day, and ultimately that's what I am at the end of the day, is a salesperson. I'm a relationship development expert. And I enjoy, my wife will joke with me, how come you always get to go to the Bulls games, the Cubs games, the dinners, the boat outings? And I say, because I've structured my life that way. And that's how I build relationships which bring in clients. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's time very well spent. Yes, do I enjoy going to the Cubs game, the Bulls game, the Chicago Fire, whatever it is? Yeah, I enjoy it. But it's also extremely valuable to my business that I'm building these relationships that bring in the clients. But so again, the long-winded answer is I try to, outsource every single thing that I can that I'm not that great at or that I don't enjoy doing, and try to have others that are good at it, that do enjoy doing it, have them do those activities.
Okay. I think so. The picture you've been painting so far kind of answers this next question. I think, alas, I will ask it anyway. What's been your most effective strategy for standing out in a crowded market?
I love that question. So back to what we talked a little bit earlier, my competitors are cold calling. My competitors are, sending marketing emails about their business and how they can help. And they're basically asking everybody they come in contact with, do you have a real estate need? How can my services fit into your needs right now? And I was taught that if a customer didn't have a need in the next 2 years, get off the phone. Stop talking to them. Wait until they have a need. Well, guess what? I show up within those 2 years and I start building a relationship. I start referring them clients. I bring them to events where they can have fun, meet other contemporaries, other business owners and C-level executives that can hire them or that they can help bring on to solve problems in their businesses. And so I'm taking an approach that, I talk about relationship based, but it's really about bringing value to these clients and prospects outside of their real estate needs. That, without question, Rich, is the biggest way that I separate myself, because I'm not trying to be a vendor. I'm trying to be a partner. I'm trying to partner with them because I'm going to ask them to do things that help me, like introduce me to the other business owners and C-level executives that they know. And frankly, a lot of the competitors that I know and the brokers that I know, in their minds, cold calling is the quickest and most efficient way to getting that next client. The problem is it's not sustainable. It's not repeatable. I mean, you can make cold calls every day of your life. Sure. Good for you. You will bring in a couple of clients every year. But the best way I can put it into perspective, typical broker is doing between 5 and 7 transactions per year. Maybe a busy one is doing 10. I'm doing about 40, right? So 4 times the busy brokers, because I'm building these relationships that build upon each other. Each relationship stays with me as I build the next relationship and the next and the next and the next. And that's why I'm able to have a lot of inbound activity. People reaching out to me, can you help me with this? Or, hey, Bill, I saw you on a podcast. Would you mind helping? Or, Bill, these events you've had me to have been terrific over the years. We're now ready. We're now ready to bring you on. And so I think without question, Rich, the biggest differentiator is that I strive to be a partner rather than a vendor. And then the methods I use to do that, we've talked about, which I'm happy to get into further. But it's trying to be a partner rather than a vendor is the biggest differentiator.
Okay. Yeah. That's kind of the picture I was getting.
Good.
Can you share a major mistake you made early in your career and what you learned from it?
Oh, wow. So many to choose from. Holy cow. I'll tell you, the biggest mistake I made was far and away meeting with so many, what I would call networking partners, vendors, meeting with so many salespeople. And, my original philosophy about networking, it was right on, except a little bit flawed in its execution. It was meeting with people that could work with similar clients and then could introduce me to those similar clients when they hear about the need. What I learned about our specific industry, now this is not necessarily true if you sell insurance, managed services, marketing, whatever, but in commercial real estate in particular, other people don't hear about the needs. Other professional service providers don't know about the need. And if they do, it's their client telling them that they're moving or that they bought a building. Well, the transaction's over. I needed to know about that a year and a half prior to the need being fulfilled. So in particular, the group that I probably spent the most time with and got the least out of was attorneys. Attorneys are the most fixed mindset people. You and I believe, have a growth mindset where we want to include others. We want to support others around us with the intent that they'll support us back. Attorneys have this fixed mindset. They have these blinders on. That's like, look, I work so hard to get this client. I do not want to introduce any variables to that relationship, which might upset my relationship with the client. So that is the single biggest mistake I made. I bet you I looked at this recently, and I'm blanking on the number, but let's call it 350 attorneys that I've met with predominantly early on in my career until I realized they don't know about the need. Maybe if you think, well, Bill, wouldn't a real estate attorney be good for you? No, because most of the time, a good real estate attorney knows they're going to get repeatable business through landlords and developers. I mentioned at the beginning, that's not who I work with. I don't need to meet landlords and developers. I need to meet the tenants, buyers, and sellers, the business owners. Now, the other type of work a real estate attorney gets is they'll get the work from someone else in-house that actually has the relationship. So real estate attorneys don't have relationships with individual business owners typically, nor do they actually have the client relationship at all because they're getting it from the rainmaker, from the managing partner, from the person at their firm who handles their corporate work, their contract, that whatever it is, they're doing most of the corporate work and they're farming out the little things like a lease negotiation or a purchase and sale agreement negotiation. So it took me so long to realize that most attorneys don't really have relationships with their clients. It's coming from the rainmaker at their firm that's saying, hey, here's a type of law that I don't do that I need you to handle. So I would say overall, attorneys are incredibly useless. That's just my experience, right? There are some people who do have strong relationships with attorneys that have good relationships with their clients. But for the most part, I've found attorneys have been the single greatest waste of my time in my career. But the broader is, from my perspective, service providers and non-business owners, non-C-level executives, that's where I've wasted the most amount of time in my life.
Okay.
My career.
That's a strong answer. I like it.
It's a strong opinion, and I know the attorneys out there aren't going to love it because what do? they chase down people like myself with their hand out. What do you got for me? And they think that their value add is the work they do, right? You asked earlier, what's your differentiator? And I said, I'm a partner, not a vendor. A lot of attorneys will tell you their differentiator is, well, I'm great at what I do. Guess what? There are hundreds of thousands of attorneys, if not millions, that are pretty good at what they do. So that does not separate you. That does not. Well, the one attorney that I've selected out of 350 or so that I know, Mason Cole of Cole Sadkin, number one, he's responsive. Not many attorneys are responsive. Number two, he's affordably priced. Not many attorneys are affordably priced, at least not the good ones. You know, he's a good partner. He refers me back. He's a client of mine. We've helped him with his real estate needs. So that's the type of relationship I need. So instead of trying to maintain a relationship with 350 people that are looking to me for what can I give to them, and they'll give me back their expertise, or give my client back their expertise, is to have a true partner that introduces me to his clients that could be good clients for me, that is responsive and responds when I make an introduction. I mean, I've had such awful experiences in general with attorneys that I just, you know, I can't speak lowly enough of them as a whole, as a group. Obviously, not all of them are the same, but in general, my big question when I get introduced to an attorney or an attorney reaches out to me and wants to meet, or one of those 350 attorneys that I know wants to reconnect, I ask them, when's the last time you had an opportunity to refer a commercial broker? Not whether you did it or not, because I'm sure a lot of them, they don't want to upset the relationship with the client. So they might know there's a need and still not make a referral because they don't want to upset the relationship. But I'll just say, when's the last time you had an opportunity to refer a commercial broker? That usually the conversation ends right there because they know they have nothing they can offer me. They have nothing they can give to me that would bring me value. So I don't want to waste my time talking to them.
Your answer so far, they've once again answered, I think, this next question, and especially what you were just talking about with the relationships. How do you build and maintain relationships with past clients to ensure repeat business and referrals? You've
Beautiful
pretty much
question.
done it. Yeah.
No, Rich, you are so spot on. And the answer is simple. Continue to bring them value, right? I can't tell you how high of a percentage of my clients had worked with previous brokers before. Well, that broker closes the deal. Let's say it's a 5-year lease. They go, great, I'll follow up in 4 years. They'll hear from me again in 4 years from now. Meanwhile, they're coming with me to a suite at a Bulls game. I'm introducing them to potential clients. You know, I'm asking them, how else can I support your business? I know you don't have a commercial real estate need right now. What can I do that would be helpful for you? You know, usually that relates to, well, we always like to meet new clients, right? We all business owners like to meet new clients, and I can provide that for them. I can support them in solving other issues. I can't tell you how many times I get an email or a note. Hey, Bill, do you have a good labor and employment attorney? We're having an issue right now. And of course, I have a good one. It's Mason Cole, you know, or they need a contract attorney. Yeah, I got a great one. His name's Mason Cole. Oh, it's always going to be Mason Cole right now. He's a great partner of mine. Or they might say, hey, we need a new website. Do you have somebody that can help us? Yes, I do. You know,
It's
our
Mason Cole.
insurance guy, what's that?
It's Mason Cole.
I keep him on the legal side, but
Okay. Yeah.
you know, I've got marketing firms, I've got insurance firms, I got all these partners out there. Banking relationships have been my most valuable, but I love it. My point is, I'm trying to be a resource for my clients where if they need some type of a vendor to solve a challenge their business is having, I have a great resource for them. And so that to me is the biggest key of getting repeat business. You know, I think my newsletter helps a little, right? Every month here's what's going on in our community. And it's an easy read, right? A 30% open rate means people are okay taking a look at my newsletter for the most part. And even if they don't look through it, they're still getting the email from me. They see my name in their inbox once a month. Inviting people to events. If I'm trying to get 20 people to an event, I probably have to invite over 200 people. Again, it's not like everyone's clamoring to hang out with me. I don't blame them. But, you know, so those 200 people, they all get a touch point, and it's not a sales touch point. Hey, do you want to retain me for my service right now, but it's a, hey, would you like to come to this fun event and meet other owners and C-level executives that could potentially be clients of yours, right? So when I'm reaching out to these people on a regular basis, it's not a sales pitch. It's an offer of value. I'm trying to bring them value in between. That's why, I'm looking through my current active client list right now, and a lot of them have a 2 or a 3. I think I have one right now with a 4, but it's the 3rd time we're working with them. It's the 2nd time we're working with them. And boy, it just makes life so much easier when your clients are calling you back. We need you again. And that to me is the biggest key, is to try to bring them value outside of the real estate arena. And usually that means understand who their ideal clients are and try to give them opportunities to get in front of those potential clients.
I'm skipping over the next question because you pretty much answered it. It was like, what's your one tool that you can't live without? And you talked heavily about Calendly, and I think it sounds like that's like the one. So I want to go into a more interesting question of how do you handle difficult market conditions when talking to clients?
Wow.
This is
another question.
Apropos to the times right now.
Yes. Whether the market's up or down, in favor of the tenant, in favor of the landlord, in favor of the buyer, in favor of the seller, whatever it is, it's about sharing strategies to maximize their result, the client's result. And so when it's a landlord favorable market, the biggest value that we can bring to our clients, when there was 3, 4, even 5 potential tenants looking at a space that my client was interested in, it was the tactics we would use about getting them to skip ahead, to skip the line, getting them in front so they could be in the driver's seat rather than having my client be told, sorry, that space has already been leased or that property's already been sold. It's different. It's using different tactics that can benefit my clients in the good times or the bad times, right? That's really kind of what the value, we have so many awards that we have won for being exceptional brokers and an exceptional brokerage firm, but really to me, and those are helpful. I love those. Those are great marketing opportunities for us. But I think one of the things I like to point to as well about trying to separate myself from the crowd is our Google reviews. CB Richard Ellis, Jones Lang LaSalle, Cushman & Wakefield, some of the biggest firms in the world might have 5 to 7, maybe 10 reviews. Half of them are, these people are horrible, 1 star, they were terrible for this reason. The other half of the good reviews, not only do they have 0 comments about why they're good, they usually will share the same last name as the CEO, right? So the CEO enlists his wife, his brother, his sister, his family members to just do 5 stars and move on. Tenant Advisory Group has over 110 reviews. Every single one is 5 stars, and every single one has a detailed explanation of what we did for them. And none of those 110 plus have the last name of Himmelstein. So they were actually from my clients.
Honest to God, organic reviews.
Right. So, we have the expertise to deliver the best result for my clients. And that's not just me saying that. It's evidenced in, let me reach over here. It's evidenced in the awards we're winning. It's evidenced in getting selected to things like the Titan 100. It's evidenced, if you can see over my shoulder, all these awards up on the wall. It's evidenced by the 110 plus all 5-star Google reviews. Like, it's pretty clear that it's not just me saying this, it's others seeing it, recognizing it, giving us the hardware, the awards, and the reviews on Google.
Perfect. Yeah. I can see why you have those reviews. Just talking to you.
I appreciate that. And, and that's also part of our process is we ask for them.
Oh, yeah.
Very simple. You're not going to get it if you don't ask. No,
you got to ask for them.
Right.
Sometimes someone's like so blown away by the service that they're just like, oh, I'm going to go give a good review. And on the opposite end too, I think that was so disastrous, I'm going to give a bad review. So our final question, I think this is always a good one to end on, is what's one skill you think most real estate professionals overlook, but is crucial for long-term success?
Wow. Love it. Your questions have been phenomenal. To me, there's a lot of things actually, but to me, it really comes down to the greatest way that I separate myself from my competitors. They might all be, a lot of them could be good negotiators. A lot of them could be good strategy guys. A lot of them could be good, doing the paper, whatever it is they're doing. There are good brokers out there. I think the biggest key is that philosophy of giver's gain, meaning to support others and bring value to others with the expectation that they will return that to you. I think, like we mentioned with attorneys, they think their value is, well, I'm a great attorney and I'm going to give you great legal advice and that's the value you get. I think a lot of brokers think the same way. I'm a great broker and that's the value you get, is when you work with me, you get a great broker. I think, to me, that's the price of entry. Just to be competing, just to be out there, you need to be good at what you're doing, right? You need to be an expert. That's why people are going to hire you and look to you for your commercial real estate advice or for your legal advice. Is you have to be the expert. You have to be good at what you do. That's the baseline. That's the base level entry. I think it's what is the value beyond being great at what you do that you bring to the table. And for me, it's about thinking about your clients' businesses outside of just real estate. I bet you, and I don't pay a ton of attention to my competitors because nobody takes business from us. You know what I mean? Like if somebody knows Tenant Advisory Group, more often than not, they work with Tenant Advisory Group. So I'm not worried about my competitors doing something better than us or, whatever it is. But I think if they were to take that approach of, okay, I closed the deal. There's, I'm not going to be following up in 4 years from now. What can I do between now and then that will be helpful for my client? I think that's an incredibly overlooked piece of this business, thankfully, that plays right into my hands, right? That's how I take business. One of my biggest clients right now, I'm thinking of them, right? They were very similar. They had another broker they used. Right after I contacted them, they had just finished their deal. While I was building my relationship with this person, they wanted to open up another office. They came to Tenant Advisory Group. And now we're back to their headquarters in Chicago. It'll be a very large transaction. And that's my client now, So, and it's because it was thinking about ways I can bring my client value outside of the real estate transaction.
Perfect note to end on. I like the way you think. It's a good way to do business, especially nowadays. And like you said, the price of admission is being good at what you do, and then that's the starting point. So,
and right, it's like, what else do you do besides being good at what you do?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Bill, for coming with us today, and I really enjoyed the conversation. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Rich. I appreciate the opportunity. This was awesome.
That wraps up another episode of Thank You for Your Reply. A big thank you to Bill Himmelstein for sharing your valuable insights with our community. To our listeners, you can find show notes and links below this video, or if you're on audio, they'll be in the show description. If you enjoyed the episode, please like and subscribe so you'll be able to catch the new episodes when they drop. Until next time, keep innovating, keep growing, and remember, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.